Obviously, I do things that I can do to lower my tax burden, but again, can't avoid taxes, right? Death and taxes, they say.
What's been your biggest frustration and when it comes to capital gains tax deferral as it pertains to what you do?
Oh, I mean, there's just the normal capital gains type issues where, so all my trading is really short-term capital gains, so it's taxed as income. And so, you get to a certain point when you're in your upper tax bracket, for me at least, where basically 50 cents of every dollar I'm making in the market on these trades is going to be taxed. So again, I'm giving up 50% of my gains. But again, that's the cost of doing business, and it gets to a point where I don't necessarily mind too much because I'm doing so well. There's so many people that are struggling out there. I always try to remind myself is that, you're paying taxes, but you also live in the greatest country in the world, and you have to be thankful for that as well. And obviously, I do things that I can do to lower my tax burden, but again, can't avoid taxes, right? Death and taxes, they say.
Yeah, you might be able to defer them a little bit, but yeah, it's definitely a big challenge. So I'm curious, what are some of those strategies that you've used that you found to be helpful for you or for clients or friends or family?
Yeah, so for instance, for me with taxes, one thing I'll do into year end, right, is if I have some losers that I've been holding on to that I keep hoping will turn around, what you can do with stocks is let's say you made $100,000, but you're down $20,000 on a position that you're currently holding. You can sell that into year end, and then that loss negates 20,000 of that 100,000 gain, and you only pay taxes on 80,000, and that just lowers your overall tax burden. I mean, one of the things I'll keep very close in mind going into the end of this year is watching the Biden tax proposals, and for instance, if the taxes are going to go up in 2022, then I might be more inclined to hold my losers into that year and then take them there because I want to lower my tax burden when taxes are higher. So there's different little strategies that I've thought about going into potentially a tax hike that we likely will see at some point in the future.
Yeah, well said. And let's touch on the Biden proposal changes because these are some really big, to me, game-changing proposals, right? And of course, they still need to be passed. And obviously, sometimes they throw a high number and negotiate down in the middle there. But I mean, like for example, the elimination of the stepped-up basis, right? To me, when I see that, I just think, wow, if that actually goes, right, it's going to be the biggest change in perhaps in American wealth history, right? So I'm curious, what's your thoughts on something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be huge in terms of potential changes, and we'll have to look at what the tax code looks like under the new regulations if they get passed. That is, I don't have a lot of comments on that specifically, but I would say that in general, you just have to make the moves that are proper for you. And obviously, I'm no accountant, so no one should be taking advice from me. But for me, for instance, just to give you an idea of different things I'm doing, like so I've lived in Oregon for the last 4 years and paying basically 10% state tax, and I've recently relocated to Florida because they have no state tax, right? So for me, that's a way that I'm adjusting my overall tax burden. So yes, the income tax rates for federal might be going up, but for me, I'm going to actually able to lower it by just switching my location. Now, granted, I'm a very lucky person. I trade for a living and I invest for a living, so I'm mobile, right? As long as you give me a wireless high, or a high speed internet connection, I can do my job from anywhere in the world. Not everyone's that lucky, and I understand that.
Very well said. Yeah, that makes sense. These lower tax states are becoming more and more attractive as other taxes go higher and higher.